Hello, welcome to Sheffield Board Gamers podcast. This is episode 14. My name's Rick and we're joined today by Tom Coldron. Hi Tom.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by the other Tom as well, Tom Lovewell from Redwell Games. Hello Tom.
Hi.
Hello, hi. Thank you both for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you on speaking to us again. So we're the Sheffield Board Games Club. We play board games usually in the city of Sheffield, but we haven't been recently been playing online and at home for obvious reasons. One of the things we've been doing is online gaming. So we played a few on YouTube and things like that, streamed it to YouTube, played on Board Game Arena and Tabletop and things like that. Played a few nice games recently. Dice Forge is one that I quite enjoyed. That's the one where you build your own dice. I don't know if you've played that one before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You build your own dice, you stick faces on it, and then your dice get better as you go along. We've also played Clans of Caledonia as well. Played that a few times. That's a good, a nice solid Euro game about whiskey making in Scotland.
Yeah, I played that. I think with Dice Forge, I've not played it online, but I think I'd missed the tactile nature of using a little crowbar to get a dice face off and then sticking a new one on.
Yeah, the dice are probably the best part of it, rolling the dice and sort of building them up and stuff. So it does lose a little bit.
I have a question. In the online version, can you clearly tell the difference between the light grey and the light beige faces? Because I struggled with that with the physical one. So
yeah, I believe so. Yeah, they've all got icons on them, and the icons are pretty easy to read. So yeah, I think it's pretty easy to see the difference between them. Yeah, and if you hover over it as well, it's got the advantage where it tells you exactly what it does. You know, the cards, the dice, faces, things like that. You hover over it and it gives you like a little toolbox that tells you, the rules for that particular item. So that's quite handy. So what have you guys been up to?
I've been playing plenty of card games of Quirk with my son. I've gone back to the dark side and played a fair amount of tabletop war game War Machine with my son. But we've also played a fair amount of board games. I've introduced him to Catan in the last week or two. We've played some Santorini. We played at the weekend the classic Hero Quest, but also picked up some new games. So I backed last year Gladiatores, and due to a minor moving house snafu, I actually only got it this weekend. So I've broken that out and played that, and also Houses of Knowledge, which was designed in Sheffield by a gent called Thibaut, and the other Tom and myself had the pleasure of being involved in the playtesting, and that turned up last week, so I've also played that as well. And today, actually, I was taking part of the virtual GridCon that is virtually being held in Devon, so much closer to where I've now moved to, and played Prisma Arena online, or rather, my son played, and I was doing all the controls for him, and he liked it a fair bit, so he said, when it comes out in September, can I have it for Christmas, please? So, so yes, that's one to watch for end of the year.
So how does that work with the virtual forum then? With the virtual con, do you kind of have a forum where you meet up and suggest games to play, or do you just jump into to whatever's going? Or
there's a Discord where, so there's 8 tables that are available on the Discord, so people sort of chat to arrange there. But also there's a pre-book system, particularly for people giving demos. And there's a bunch of people there. I think there's David Turchi, Vitali, there's Bez, there's David Digby, there's guys there's Hub Games, obviously, because I played their game today, and a bunch of others where they're saying we're demoing at this time. And so you can sign up to join in. So there is a sign-in sheet, up sheet for specific things, and a Discord as well. And it's good, it's the first virtual convention I've been involved in any way, and I'm going to see if there's anything tomorrow. I'm tempted to try Swatch, which is coming out to Kickstarter in August. Got Snowden, I've forgotten his last part of his surname. Lovely guy, met him at Tabletop Scotland when the game was originally called CMYK. Cards look great. I've not been able to play the game because I've been demoing at the same time he has, so I'm going to try and take up the opportunity to play that. Looks really, really nice. It's really sort of thematically strong with the colours. Did you see it at Aircon at all, Tom?
It was on a table right next to Bez's stand where I was helping out, and I never got to actually have a look at his game.
Yeah, that's the problem I've
kept on meaning to.
Yeah, it's like, I want to, it looks nice, it looks interesting, and I've never sat down, so that's my hope is tomorrow I'll be able to get a game of that in. As I said, I met Scott, and he's a lovely guy, and it does seem really good. So,
yeah, at least you get a chance to have a look at it then, and have a go.
So yes, that's my top tip for August. Check out Swatch on Kickstarter.
Okay, so like I said, we played lots of games recently, so we're going to chat about a couple of those that we've been playing. One that I've played recently is a game called Res Arcana. This is from 2 to 4 players, plays between 20 and 60 minutes. It's designed by Tom Lehman, and he's done lots of games. He's been a designer for quite a while, so Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy, a game called The City, which is also being re-implemented as a game called Jump Drive, but same game, I think. Favour of the Pharaoh, and, well, I was looking also all the Pandemic expansions. He's had a hand in designing some of those as well. It's an engine building game, basically. So it's the theme is kind of 2 to 4 wizards sort of dueling and trying to get points. Not quite sure what the theme is really. It doesn't really matter. You're getting resources and getting points, basically. In the game, you get a deck of 40 cards. And out of those 40 cards, you deal 8 to each player. And that's all the cards that you get during the game. So the rest go back in the box. So with a 2-player game, you're only going to get 8 cards each. These cards will let you get resources and turn those resources into different resources and points and gold and things like that. There's 5 different resources. There's green, black, red, blue, and it's also gold as well. Some of the cards are creatures, so you've got like creatures, dragons, things like that. Some cards will give you a bonus to playing these out. So if a dragon costs a certain amount of resources to play it, sometimes another card will give you a discount on that to make it a bit cheaper. And the game really is about finding these combinations. So if you need, 4 blue to play a particular card, you have to sort of figure out how you're going to get those 4 blue. And there's usually different combinations and different ways of doing it. So it's kind of a cross between an engine builder and kind of a Euro game, in that it starts off like really slowly. On the first couple of turns, you might only get 2 or 3 resources, but it builds up and it builds up. It's kind of exponential at that point. So then you'll get 4, and then you'll get 8, and then you'll get 16. So you're doing your combos. So you might turn a card to discard 4 blue to get a gold, and then you use the gold to do something else, and then you use that to untap your blue card again to tap it again. So there's loads and loads of combos to find. And like I said, with the 8 cards that you get in your deck that you start off with, you kind of have to make it work with those 8 cards. Mm-hmm. It's a bit random because you get them dealt at the start of the game, but there is a drafting a variant where you can draft the cards at the start, so you can kind of see some of the cards and sort of build, once you've played it a few times, you can build sort of a strategy based on what you want to go for. Me and Tracy played this 2-player, so probably takes about 30, 40 minutes, something like that, to play a game with 2 players. I think with more, it'll probably take a little bit longer because you only do one thing per turn. You only do one action, like turning a card to get some resources, or you turn one resource or another. So it's only a really quick turn that you do. But I think with 3 or 4, it'll probably take a little bit longer because you'll be sat waiting for other people to do their things, while it's coming back to your turn again. But with a 2-player game, it's really snappy. Mm-hmm. Plays fairly quickly. I do something, and then Tracy will do something, and then I'll do something, and then Tracy will do something. So it's kind of that back and forth. It's really quick that way. And trying to find the combos and the best ways to get, your resources for the particular cards that you want to buy. It's really good. It's a really tight game. Like I said, really well designed. The art is really nice on it. The artist is Julian Delval. The cards themselves, they have kind of this iconography language on them. So there's a lot of icons to learn and a lot of, symbols and things like that. But you get some really nice helper cards, some sheets that tell you, what the symbols do and what they mean. So it's quite easy to work out once you've played it a couple of times. You'll get to know what each of the symbols means and how it works. So there is a bit of symbology and a bit of learning involved. But like I say, it's pretty easy once you get your head around that. And the playing aids help a lot. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Res Arcana, that is.
I've heard really good things about that, and I've played a few games by Tom Lehman, and Race for the Galaxy I always thought it was a really impressive game. One of the great games. And yeah, so I'd really like to try Res Arcana at some point. Yeah. You say it plays really well as a 2-player?
That's the only way I've played it so far. So I can't really comment on 3 and 4 player. I'm not sure how quickly it would, or how much of a difference it would make. But at a 2 player, we can play it in 30, 40 minutes. Like I say, it's kind of an exponential thing. So it builds up and builds up and builds up. So you start off really slow. If you've played the City or Jump Drive, that's a similar sort of thing. You start off getting like 1 card, and then at the end of the game, you're drawing like 20 cards out of the deck. It's a similar sort of thing with this. So that feels really good, when you're playing it and you're getting all these resources coming in and you've got all these choices in front of you, what you want to do with them. It's really good fun.
Great stuff.
What about you guys? What have you been playing?
I've played obviously quite a few 2-player games with Paula, and a few online things on Board Game Arena. This last week or so, I've been trying to play quite a few games of a game called Quantum.
Ooh.
This has been out for quite a few years now. I think it's 2013 or 2014 or something it came out. And it's a clever way of using dice. So you've got 3 spaceships, and each one of the dice showing a different number. And if it's a 1, it's a battle station. If it's a 2, it's something else, warship or whatever. If it's a 6, it's a scout. And as a 2-player, it's a quick little fight it's a knife fight in a phone box, really. You're racing to try and get your quantum cubes on planets. It's a space theme, but basically it's an abstract strategy game. There's a little bit of manoeuvring things around. You can get lots of combos, like this ship has a special power. If it's a 3, it's got a special power of warping, so it swaps places with another ship. If it's a 2, it's got a special power of carrying another ship when it's moving. They've all got their own special power. So you can find this weird combo. So I use this ship to get over there and taking this one, and then that one swaps with that one over there, and suddenly I'm next to this planet and I can put a cube down. Or move over there and suddenly I'm next to your ships and I can attack them. Because there's moving to place cubes and also trying to attack other people. So it's a bit of combat and interfering with each other's plans. And so a bit of take that. And as a 2-player game, it's really quite snappy. We had some games that were like 10 minutes, some games that were a bit longer, like 20 minutes. But it's one way you could just pick it up, have a quick game. Every turn is a little puzzle trying to get the best thing out of it. And then it builds up to a head and it's over. It's in 20 minutes. It's a really nice little fun game. It says on the box, though, it takes 60 minutes. I'm not sure exactly how you'd manage to take 60 minutes. Must be people that are considering it. Their moves a lot closer than we were.
I've seen people playing this at the club, and it looks. I'm trying it myself, but I really like the aesthetic of it. It's kind of like Star Wars, Star Trek kind of spaceships and planets.
It's one of these things where the theme it fits, and you can explain all the things that the ships do based on what they are. Oh, this is a battle station, so it doesn't move very fast, but it's really tough. And it's gonna beat most things in a battle. And this is a scout. It's really fast, but it's not very strong. Yeah. You can explain things in that terms, but the theme is good for explaining it. It doesn't really come through. You don't feel like you're expanding a space empire.
Yeah, yeah.
See what I mean?
It's just dice on the board.
So it could have been a totally different theme and exactly the same game.
The dice look nice, though.
They are. Well, yeah. I seem to remember when I first got it, the dice were sort of weirdly sticky.
Oh.
Yeah, they're fine now. I mean, I've had it a few years. Probably washed them a couple of times. Yeah, but it's a very nice game.
Does that scale up at all with more players, do you think, or is it?
It plays 2 to 4. As I say, most of the games have been just 2-player game with me and Polly. I played one game of it as a 4-player game on Board Game Arena, which was very weird. But yeah, because more people to mess up your plans in between your turns, and more people to gang up on whoever's about to win, but it's hard to tell who's about to win. Yeah.
Well, that was my question. Because of the take that element, it can really, when you have 3 or 4 people, it really does seem to have more of an impact than when it's you versus someone else. It's almost a case of I could be selfish because there's only one person I've got to beat, whereas when you've got 3 other opponents, you've got to be a little bit more sneaky, don't you?
Yeah, and you get lots of interesting little dynamics like, someone needs to stop them getting their last planet. You do that, I'm going to go over here and do this planet. But you've got to do that now, otherwise they're going to win.
Yeah, I quite like that sometimes in games where you get that kind of decision where, somebody's going to have to stop them. but I'm not going to do it. I'll let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
Well, I've been playing Houses of Knowledge this week. I say this week. I was involved in playtesting Houses of Knowledge at the Treehouse
Yep, me too.
board game cafe, along with you, Tom, because you organised the playtest sessions, didn't you?
Yes, and we hope they're going to be starting up sometime soon, but who knows? Yes, obviously it's been on hold the last few months.
So I found it really interesting. So I'm going to talk about my feelings about it and then how about the gameplay works. Because I watched it develop as a game, it's nice getting the game and playing the final thing. But for me, the joy was just opening it up and seeing all the extra work that Zoromeya, Moe, the artist, that she's done. There's so many little bits in there. So the art, she's taken different sorts of themes with that, the characters, and there's so much little bits in there that actually that blew me away. I like the gameplay, and I'll come to that very soon, but it just seems to be a very different product to what Thibaut first brought out about a year ago, I think it was.
Yeah.
Now,
it's really developed nicely.
Yeah. Bless him, though. You can tell that he's French because there's one card which said, "We hanged it, rather than hung," and it's like, oh, yeah. But you can forgive him because he's a lovely French chap. So, yes, Houses of Knowledge, the principle of the game is you are putting together a museum, and the other players are your rivals trying to put together their museum, and each turn you get a certain amount of revenue from your museum, and it increases with more rooms you've got, but really only if the room has got artifacts or exhibits in there, so the number of items. And then once you've got your revenue for each round, you've then got a number of items that you can buy, extra rooms that you can buy, but also, for want of a better word, staff members you can hire. Now, some of them have a one-off purchase price dependent on where they are. So if they're on the far right-hand side, they only cost 1 money cash. But if they're on the far left of the line of, I think it's 5 or 6, they cost you 10. And when they go, they'll move down. So it's a very similar mechanic to what people have probably seen before. And very much at the start of the game, it is a fight over getting the items that are the cheapest and some of the key agents that are cheap. But as you move on through the game, you get mechanics that kick in that actually you can start comboing and get extra money rather than just at the start of your turn and then buy more expensive things. And I've seen a few times playing the game where people have nearly bought everything in a round. And it goes from slow build to absolute insanity in about 2 turns, and then you resolve who's the winner. So some of the agents, what they do is you've got the guards that protect your museum, and they cost a certain amount to upkeep every turn. But you've then got others that are either a professional thief, or you have historians, or you have experts in their particular field. So you've got the modern art historic critique who would go in, and you can either use them basically, and they force another museum to discard an item from their museum, which is fairly helpful to you because you're trying to make yours better by other people's worse, or you can spend 5 money cash and steal it. And yeah, it's really nice the way that you get those difficult choices of, do I spend the extra 5 and try to steal it and make me better, but then affect whether you can actually afford something else on the board to purchase which could be useful. So there's lots of combinations for options. Yeah, at the weekend I played it with a friend who'd come over now that lockdown is easing a bit. She had played it at the playtesting session, and my wife, who'd never played it before, completely whooped us. So it is very accessible. Yeah,
It's quick as well. I don't think what Thibaut's gone for is a realistic depiction of the life as running a museum.
No, it's not.
It's not a simulation.
I don't think. My aunt is a curator. I don't think she's ever mentioned hiring a professional thief to go and spoil someone else's collection.
Well, not that she's told you.
But I think that's one where theme is instead of it being thematic, the actual the tension between the theme and the gameplay actually enhances it. So it's something you can constantly joke about, rather than it being actually modelling it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So is this... Do you know if this is available elsewhere? Is it a Kickstarter, or is it available in shops or from their website?
It was a limited run Kickstarter, so I think Thibaut had a few more than was needed for the Kickstarter, but it's not going to be a large amount. So it's something very much that you'd need to search for, because he had a very limited print run.
As a local designer, it may well be available in
yes,
anywhere.
Yeah, it's very much a search online for it. That's your best way. I don't think it's got into many shops, because it was, I think...
2 Red Squares is the company name. Company being
yes. But I've had the pleasure as well of having a quick chat with Thibaut and Moe about the game as well. So I think we're playing that, aren't we, Rick? Hi, I'm joined by Thibaut and Zoromeya, the designer and artist, respectively, of Houses of Knowledge, that recently funded and has been produced and come out this tobaccos within the last week or so. As you've just heard in the podcast, myself and Tom Coldron have been playing it this week. So nice to meet you again, Thibaut and Zoromeya.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
So I'll start with you, Thibaut, the designer of the game. You started designing the game part of a university project, is that right?
So that game was started as part of a university project. Yeah, I was taking a design module at the Open University, and part of the one of the assignments was to actually design a game in about 3 weeks. So they were more expecting something like a revamped Snakes and Ladders, but due to the fact that I already have previous experience into games through a video games career, I just couldn't stop on that. It was a bit not enough, so I just slightly took a hit on my grades with that, and decided to go on a bit more difficult project, which ended up after 1 year being Houses of Knowledge. But like the original theme and the original idea were all due to a university project.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't say it's Snakes and Ladders. It's
slightly different.
Possibly snakes and artifacts and artwork and items, maybe. So, as we mentioned in the podcast, the theme, Houses of Knowledge, is being a curator and running museums. Any particular reason why that jumped to you for inspiration, or?
Again, it goes back to the original assignment, which was about the one constraint was we have to take a theme which is a service. I decided that there were probably enough of that was not. It was really a service, yeah. And then I decided there were probably enough of things that were farmers and coffee makers and baristas and whatever. So I decided to go more into something that might be more of a community thing. And then I just like checked out what there was. Like you can go museum, library,
Garbage collector.
garbage collector. I had an idea for garbage collecting, but that was also like the thing they used in the example, so it was a bit tricky to.
So you
to
quite
get that.
literally scrapped that idea.
Yeah, and then afterwards it was more like, okay, what does sparks my imagination engine? And librarian does it, but in not a so safe direction. So museum it was.
And a couple of minutes ago, you said you were involved in games design, so video games, yes?
Yeah.
So for a Luddite as myself who hasn't played video games for about 10 years, what games have you worked on out of curiosity?
As a designer, there's no games that you can play for me which are video games, because I was essentially on prototypes which never made the light of day, which is about 90%. It's 90% of the video games industry, yes.
So lots of development, not much release.
Tester, and before that, I was a QA tester, and on that I did The Sims. I did The Sims 2. I did Need for Speed. I did some Tomb Raider, even though I don't remember the one. Which one?
Dishonored.
Oh yeah, I did Dishonored also. I did a bunch of way more obscure titles. Some of them sold for £10 directly in the supermarket also, because that's the bread and butter. So.
Would you say your experience then working on video games helped you with the board game design?
Oh, definitely. It's exactly the same principles that we follow. So first off, we're actually making a product, right? It's like the game is a product. It's something that you're going to have to sell to an audience at the end of the day. So the first matter is more or less, what audience am I targeting? What does that audience expect from a game? And how do I deliver that within the economics that I can have? So like, what is my budget? What are the things that are possible to make? What are the existing mechanics on the market, etc., etc., etc. And the other thing that was probably a very big advantage with the experience is I've learned early on to kill ideas as soon as I see that they are not going to work, or that it's going to be too difficult to implement them. So more like always go back to the big picture and go like zoom in, zoom out on the details, and then back to the big picture. And if something is not fitting, if something is not going to make it, if something is going to take 1 year of development for probably 5% of the game, just cut it out. And from experience, I know that this at the beginning is really difficult, because you want all your darlings close to you. But at some point, you're just like, it's okay, I'll recycle that into something else later on.
So you're generally able to sacrifice your darlings, so to speak.
Yeah, all of them to the gods.
Okay. So, and Zoromeya, you are the artist involved, all the graphic design for Houses of Knowledge.
Yes.
Did you need strong guidance from Thibaut, or were you able? Or did you have a lot of free reign? How collaborative was it?
So only one constraint he gave was he wanted to be Art Deco style.
Yep.
And he wanted it to be bright color theme. That was the only thing he gave, and the rest was all free. I had lots of freedom.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head with bright colours and Art Deco themes.
Point taken.
And this is your first board game that you've worked on.
So
Published
board game it's first, but we did made 2 prototype board games in the past with one of our friends, and that one had to be on hold because our friend got family and the situation changed, so we couldn't go further. But I have 2 prototypes I designed, and yeah, other than that, all digital games I was worked for 10 years or so.
So digital games. Similar question to Thibaut, but I'm assuming yours have seen the light of day?
Sorry.
So yours have the games that you've worked on been released then? Whereas Thibaut's didn't.
Yeah, the games you worked on, the video games you worked on were released.
Yeah. Video games, they are out. One you could still check is Bubble Island 2. I think it's still on mobile.
So were they more mobile games then, or?
Yeah, mobile games, mainly mobile games, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And moving forward, are you both thinking on continuing to design board games, card games, and get involved in more graphic design and artwork as well?
We're hoping so.
Yeah. At least I'm certainly hoping to do more board game design. I don't know if it will go to a Kickstarter or through the traditional publishing route, or if it will stay at the stage of prototypes as usual. But I enjoy making games in any way, so that is not going to stop.
We have 2 on the production of prototype phase at the moment, and yeah.
And would you want to work on more games? Obviously, the ones that Thibaut's designing, Zoromeya.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in providing artwork for anyone else with that?
Yeah. I'm always open for business, and any kind of like art needed, just talk to me and we will figure out. So.
Very good. And obviously you're, as people can tell with my very strong Sheffield accent, not a lot, and clearly your strong Sheffield accent's not a lot. Are you going to be remaining in Sheffield for much longer, or?
That's a great question.
That's a good question. It's something that we actually we don't know. Zoromeya she has a day job, which might take us to London for some time. I'm still in between, so we don't know yet. We might be moving a bit more south. The weather might be playing a part of that in that too. The nature of the nature of the works that we've been following so far makes it that it's difficult for us to know wherever we are going to be within the next 6 months, anyways. So
fair enough. So, well, if you do leave Sheffield, like I have recently, I'm sure you will be missed by everyone at the playtesting at Treehouse Cafe. Because it was lovely to play test with you there, and you should have brought Zoromeya along more frequently than you did. That was the biggest mistake you made.
I tried.
And then now I want to, and then I can't because it's so closed.
So, well, it's been lovely to talk to you both. Where can people find you? Where can people find Houses of Knowledge?
Currently, the only way to get it would be to message us on Twitter or Facebook. So you can do so by looking for 2 Red Squares. And we are trying to set up digital shop rather quickly. So we'll let people know on social media once that is done.
Okay. And so that people know, you are 2 red squares because quite literally your glasses are 2 red squares and you are so distinctive.
The logo is pretty much giving it all.
Yeah.
If you go to a convention and I'm here and you know the logo, you should be able to figure out who I am.
Very much so.
Until you change the glasses.
Well, it has been lovely to speak to you both again, and
you.
all the best with future endeavours, and obviously with Houses of Knowledge.
Thank
you
you.
very
Same
much.
for you, Tom.
Yeah, same to you.
Right. So, well, the other game, keeping on Kickstarters, but this one is now more widely available, is Gladiatores by Bad Cat Games. So I first caught a glimpse of this about, I can't remember, it was a year or 2 years ago. It was at UK Games Expo. I think it was a year ago, and then of course I saw the gents of Bad Cat Games at Glasgow Games Gathering and Tabletop Scotland. And it's a really nice Roman gladiatorial combat-based themed game. But it's not just about the gladiatorial combat. That makes up 1/3 of the phases of it. And it's the important third, but there's betting involved, there's hiring involved, and everything else. So the principle is not that you're a gladiator, but you are a gladiatorial school. Each round, you and the other players get to hire from the Star Gladiators market a gladiator, and they're dependent on how many people you can bid and outbid until each school has got a gladiator. And then there is the betting phase, and that helps you get extra glory wreaths, and then you dip into the gladiatorial combat, which is a very nice, neat affair where each gladiator comes with 9 combat cards and you pick 5 extra. And in this, you score roses, as the name's called it, Blood for Roses, and this is the favour of the crowd. And to quote badly Oliver Reed, win the crowd, you win, from Gladiator the film, win the crowd, you'll win your freedom. Well, the aim is not to just kill the other person, it's actually to win the favour of the crowd, to put on a good show. And so actually you can earn these roses by doing good things. So I played a game with Emily in the week, and one of the gladiators gets to do a special move called a leap. And you dodge a blow from an opponent by jumping over the strike, and you get a rose for doing something funky as that. You don't do any damage, but because it's so dramatic, you earn the favour of the crowd. And so at the end of the combat, you will have got a certain amount of favour from the crowd, and that gives you a reward. Dependent on whether you've bet on the correct gladiator to win, will also get you another amount of favour, and also whether you actually won the combat gives you a certain amount. So over the 3 to 5 rounds that you play, the amount of points you will score depends on how well you've judged all 3 elements, just getting the favour of the crowd, but also winning the contests, but also betting correctly. And so I found that a really nice mix of things. Plus, at the end of the round, when you've got all these glory wreaths, you use that on the following round to start purchasing your next gladiator. So you've really got to be careful on your how well you're doing, because you could blow it quite easily on an expensive purchase the next round.
Yeah, I quite like the look of this one. It's good that it's not just based on the fighting. It's got like these extra bits on as well, like you said, the betting and trying to win the favour of the crowd. Gives it a bit more variety and a bit more, something else to think about, rather than just going gung ho and trying to, win combat against another player. How many does it play this? How does it go up to?
It's 2 to 5. So the gameplay is a little bit different for the 2 players. So we've not done the betting yet, because with 2 players you can't quite get the whole betting element brilliantly. So there's one of the schools which enables you to bet twice, and obviously that's not quite such a good school to take when you're playing in a 2-player version. But it plays quite quickly. It says 30 minutes. I think it depends and that's 30 minutes per event. I think, depending on how many rounds, will affect how long it takes. So if it's 3 rounds, I suspect that might be the sort of hour and a half. But if you play for 5 rounds, you're probably looking at more like 2 hours. But I've not played it much, and I've certainly not played it with a large group of people to know how close to the time it is. But it is a tidy little game. I'm quite happy with it to turn up eventually, after all the hiccups with moving house.
Yeah, that's good. What about Prismarine? Have you talked about that one?
Well, as I said, I played it online, as it's not out until September.
Oh, okay.
And funnily enough, it's another combat type game, but this one is much more softer. So instead of you're just putting hit points on opponent characters, but you get to combo cards. There's a lot of similarities in some respects to Gladiatores, except this one is aimed at a much more family game. And you have got one hero, and you get some muons, I think they're called, that join with your hero. So you've got 3 characters that go on the board at the time, and it's 2 to 4 players. And you can do one action, but you then get combo cards. And so it's how you link the actions plus the special abilities of the muons with your character. But as you carry on, and play more and more games, you get more Prisma points, and and you can then customize your hero to do different things. So the more you play, so it's kind of got that legacy campaign element to it. And the game will come with lots of stickers, so that the kids can take a character and customize it to how they're happy to look like.
Oh, cool.
And so that was one of the things that really struck me, was actually they've covered so many bases with that people can customize their own character with all these range of stickers, and then as they go through they can add extra bits and so on. I thought that's really, really cool. It looks really nice, but that it took some familiar things, added a few extra bits to it, but that whole how people are going to particularly the younger audience, which it's aimed towards, people like me and my son, definitely the key demographic.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, you got like these cardboard standees, with like a base character on it, and you click. They're like plastic. I guess they're like clear in the background, and you kind of stick it over the character to build up, so you can put like different heads on them and different armors and feet and things like that. Yeah.
So I had a chat with Rory during the game, and he said that whilst it didn't fund on Kickstarter, they didn't worry because Asmodee put in a big order, so it's in production at the moment, and they're expecting it to come out in September time. So
did you say this is available to play online as well? Is it on?
Yes, on Tabletop Simulator. You can go get it. So you need to look through the workshops, but you can download it and play it on there. It has the same advantages and disadvantages playing it virtually compared to on the tabletop, and particularly with my son, I was having to do the actions for him, and so it's not as easy. The whole hiccup of you can see the card, but you then got to click on magnify and all of those elements.
Yeah.
If you're playing at home with younger people, that literal distance from the table, so to speak, and lack of tactile nature, I think, doesn't help. But we played for about an hour and a half with Rory from Hub Games, and he loved it. So
it's really bright and colourful, this one. I like the cover of it as well.
There's too many games.
There are too many games.
There are a lot.
But there's also too many cardboard addicts out there to satisfy.
There are, and more all the time.
Everybody.
There's always people to buy these games, so Oh, cool. Okay, so moving on then. The next thing we're going to talk about is the recent news that the Spiel des Jahres 2020 nominees have been announced by the committee. So the Spiel des Jahres, if you didn't know, is the Game of the Year award. It's a German-based award, and it's broken down into several different categories. You've got a children's game category, a family game, and then a Kennerspiel, which is like a more advanced game. So previous winners have been Just One, Wingspan, There's been quite a few popular ones. I think Quacks of Quedlinburg won one year.
Yeah, they're a Kenner Spiel a few years back.
When they first announced, we were talking about this earlier, when they first announced, they are pretty new at this stage. So when they are announced and they come out, not a lot of people have had a chance to play them. So I haven't actually played any of these at all. So I can't speak to how even they play. But a couple of them are available. You can get them at the moment. I think you guys have played maybe one or two of them, haven't you? So the nominees for the award are My City by Rainer Knizia, who's released lots and lots of games. I think he's won it before with a game called Keltis. He's been nominated previously for various different games. So the My City looks pretty cool. It's the roll and write kind of game where you kind of filling in a grid and building up a city. So that's quite cool.
Yeah, we've got a legacy element as well. So
a little bit of a legacy element, yeah.
Try this.
Yeah. Nova Luna by Uwe Rosenberg, another long-time designer, quite well known. And then another game called Pictures by Daniel Storr. Kenner Spiel nominations are Cartographers, A Role-Player Tale, D Crew by Thomas Singh, and The King's Dilemma by Lorenzo Silva, Halmar Hack, and Carlo Borelli. So, like I said, I've not played any of those. I'm not sure what any of them about. Have you guys played any of these?
Well, of those 6 that you mentioned, I've played one of them. I've played Cartographers, A Role-Player Tale.
Oh, yeah.
I've not played Role Player, but Cartographers, set in the same universe, I've played. And it's a very nice little roll and write thing where you where you have to create a landscape of forests and mountains and lakes, and occasionally you have to add goblins or other sorts of monsters onto the map as well, and they take away from your score, and it's just trying to get the best score at the end. It's a very nice little entry into the whole roll and write genre.
Cool.
And you get to do a little bit of art on there as well. I mean, you could do the trees just by writing a T, or you could draw a whole little forest in the square that you've got to roll in.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, there's one called Harvest Dice, which is a roll and write game, and on that one you get you roll dice to get vegetables, and you can draw little vegetables in. So you're drawing carrots and tomatoes in. So similar sort of thing, yeah. So I like that. Yeah, it's good.
It's a nice little. It's not really part of the game, but it's just nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only one I've actually played. I own D Crew, The Crew now, but I've not actually played it. It's I think it says it's like a 3 to 7 player game with a 2-player version that you can play, but it's not really the game, but you can play it 2-player. So they don't put it as 2 to 7; they put it as 3 to 7 with a 2-player.
Right.
But I only got that the other day, and I haven't managed to have a go at it yet.
Right. That's only quite a small card game, I think, isn't it? It's a trick-taking game.
It's a cooperative trick-taking game, which is... I've never heard of anyone else doing that.
Yeah.
You, as the whole group, are trying to work out how to get whatever condition you're trying to make. But yeah, I haven't heard of anything else doing a cooperative trick-taking.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting, yeah. Another one that's got kind of a, not really a legacy, but more of like a campaign thing as well, because you have different objectives as you play through the games, don't you? And for each game you have different
50 different missions
tasks that you have to complete. Yeah.
I wanted to have a go at that, so when we manage to actually get back together, that'll be one of the things I'll be bringing along, I'm sure.
Yeah, I look forward to having a go with that one. So the children's game has already been announced. So usually they announce the children's game just before they announce the winner. So this is already announced. This is a game called Speedy Roll. I don't know if you've heard of this one, but I had a quick look on Board Game Geek. It looks really cool. You get like a tennis ball, and it's called Speedy Roll because you kind of roll this tennis ball along, and the pieces have got like little Velcro pieces on, and you're trying to pick up these little pieces. I think kids will, really like that. I really enjoy it. It looks good fun.
Yeah. I know nothing about any of the children's games that were nominated for this, apart from the names. And one was called Wir sind die Roboter, which I think should have won in honour of Kraftwerk. But I don't think it's actually a Kraftwerk-based children's game.
Oh, that's a shame.
Although that would be a fantastic thing.
Well, I've not played any of these.
Of the 9 games, the 3 nominated for Game of the Year, 3 for Connoisseur Game of the Year, and the 3 for Children's Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Having only played one, I'm not sure if I really even counted the gamer.
Yeah, I think it requires quite a dedication to sort of hunt these down and play them, when they're announced.
Absolutely.
I think I was looking back over some of the previous winners, and I've played quite a few, that were announced like last year and the year before. So,
last year's winner just won.
Yeah.
That's really come into its own over the last few months.
Oh, yeah.
A few good games of that over video chat.
Yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
Great.
I've not played it, but I think you've played it a couple of times, haven't you? It's the one where you're giving out clues and you have to write down like an answer to the clue, but if you're sharing the answer with anybody else, it doesn't get shown to the...
Yeah, so you've got to make a good clue, but not too obvious, because someone else will have done it.
It just begs the question, does the German board game media know something last year that we didn't? Kind of a...
It's a conspiracy by the makers who just won. They created this pandemic just to make their game.
This would be good in a year's time. This would be excellent.
Absolutely. Apparently, sales of Pandemic board game have gone up massively over the last few months as well.
Have they spiked?
Yeah, they have.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, that's another game I've played recently. They've released a sort of pared down a little map of Pandemic. The same that they've been doing with Ticket to Ride maps. They're doing Ticket to Ride London and Ticket to Ride New York.
Like smaller. So
you can play the same game in a sort of smaller package, and it's a quick little game instead of the big. It's a similar thing with Pandemic. They've done Hot Zone North America.
All right.
And again, this is one where you think, hang on, they planned this last year. What do they know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really good Pandemic in half an hour, 4-player game. It's a little map, so everything happens a bit quicker.
Yeah.
You've only got 3 colours of disease instead of 4. You've got a frighteningly short, the outbreak track, which goes down to 8, and then if you have any more, you die.
Yeah.
On this one, it goes down to 3, and then if you have any more, you die.
Oh no.
So yeah, that's a bit scary. But yeah, it was really good. We had 2 games of that the other night. Won 1 and lost 1.
Oh, okay.
Narrowly.
Yeah, I was going to ask how difficult is it compared to the regular one? Is it can you kind of tweak the difficulty so if you get a bit good of it, you can make it more difficult?
Yeah, in the full game, you can change the difficulty by having different amounts of epidemic cards. But in this little one, you've always got 3 epidemic cards scattered throughout, but you've also got crisis cards, which are bad things happening of various types, like suddenly you're drawing 1 more infection every time, or whatever. And you change the difficulty by putting different numbers of those in. 0 for the introductory game, 3 for the standard game, and 6 for the hard game. So that's how they adjusted the difficulty in that one, which is a bit different.
Oh, cool. They've kind of gone both ways with Pandemic, haven't they? They've had quite a few expansions, which obviously adds a lot to the base game. And then they've made lots of variants that have added sort of different rules and different themes and things like that. So they've been adding more and more and more on top of the sort of standard game, but now they're kind of taking it the other way as well, kind of taking, making it a bit simpler and a bit quicker and a bit maybe easier to learn and things.
I would say this new one, the Hot Zone one, is very much the experience of playing the base Pandemic game, just boiled down to a half-hour quick game. So it's just a smaller version of the main game.
Is it still 2 to 4 players?
It's still 2 to 4.
Yeah.
You've got 4 rolls in there, so rather than the 6 or 7 or whatever that you get in the big one. It's very good.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. Yeah, I do like Pandemic. Yeah, so that sounds like for those particular occasions where you need something, a bit quicker, or usually normal Pandemic only takes under an hour anyway, doesn't it? Like 40-50 minutes maybe to play the full game.
But something like that.
But so it's not exactly a long game anyway.
Yeah, but notably, Pandemic not a winner of Spiel Des Jahres, even though it's like possibly the biggest game in the last 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a bit of a strange award because sometimes they pick things that are maybe a bit obscure, perhaps just because they're released in Germany, or they've got an idea that it might be big sort of later in the future. Obviously, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So
yeah, I mean, anything that does win gets a massive boost of sales in Germany, at least.
Yeah,
but there's still some that just I've never played some of these. I'm looking back over the history of the awards on Wikipedia here.
Well, the rules are it's got to have a German release. So Rum Cub, which has been a winner, was one of the oldest games that has won because it just didn't have a German version for years and years and years. And then they went, okay, here's now it's a German version. And the year it came out with a German version of the rules, it won. So it kind of goes both ways, that you can have the obscure German ones that no one else has heard except for those in Germany. But it's now becoming understood across the globe that actually they kind of know what they're talking about, these Germans. So
yeah, I think in the past few years, they become sort of a kind of a point where people look at and say, oh yeah, this is going to be this game that you've picked is going to be one of the big ones, so we need to play it and we need to get it stocked and released across the world and things like that. If it is just a German, just released in a certain part of the world like Germany already.
I think when Settlers of Catan came out and won, and that was kind of when things started to shift, wasn't it, really? That, yes, there had been those that broke out more, but I think that was the first, for want of a better word, breakout hit.
Just looking back over the winners over the last few years, I've gone back to 2011. The winner was Quirkle, and I've not played that, but every winner since then I have at least played. Village and Kingdom Builder and Legends of Andor and Hanabi, Istanbul and Camelot.
Any particular favourites on there, Tom? Any that you would point out to say that? Any that are good?
Lots of good games. Last year's winner, Wingspan, was obviously a phenomenon.
Oh yeah,
that's a very nice game.
Yeah, it's a good one. That I've only played it once. I'd love to play it a little bit more, but yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah.
And 2018, I thought was a good year. The winner of the game of the year was Azul. Very good.
See, I like Azul, but I personally prefer Summer Pavilion version. Azul 3, for want of a better word.
I've not played that. Yeah.
I've played all 3 of them, and Summer Pavilion is definitely my favourite of the Azuls.
I've not played the middle one, the stained glass one, but I've played Azul and Summer Pavilion. And out of those 2, I think I wouldn't mind either. I would happily play either one. I think they're just as good as each other.
Yeah.
But I do really like them. I like Azul a lot.
I'd like to try Cult Express from 2015. I've seen that one and not got to it.
I didn't like that one.
You didn't like that?
No, I'm not very keen on that one. For me, I think it was a bit too... It's one of those games where you kind of all play cards together. It's like a programming game, so you play cards down and then you flip them all over and then kind of see what happens.
And then your plans go wrong and you laugh and it's all funny. I mean,
I found it a bit frustrating when things inevitably obviously go wrong. And you don't get to do what you wanted to do and you end up, somewhere else and getting punched and dropping stuff and then...
Okay, I meant to be down here, but I was suddenly on the roof punching the earth at thin air.
And everybody else was having a great time and loving it and laughing, but I just thought, I played it a few times and not really my kind of game, really.
Yeah, I'd say you could try it again, but no, there's loads of games out there. Just play it. Just looking back at Azul, I think another one, a notable one on the same list, a nominee but not a winner, was The Mind. And I think that's a spectacular game. But
that's a good one. Yeah,
it's a bit too wacky, I suppose. Azul is definitely... You know where you are with Azul. You do clever things, and someone wins with most points.
Yeah.
But The Mind, there was a whole debate about whether it's an actual game or not, so I suppose that might have influenced the result a bit.
Yeah, I've played it a few times, and I've really enjoyed it when I've played it, because it is a novelty. It's a bit of a novel game, isn't it, where you...
there's nothing else quite like it.
Yeah, it's kind of unique in what it does. As to
it's a Marmite game.
Yeah. I think I did actually play with a few people who didn't like it as well, who said the same sort of thing. It's not really a game.
It's more even a game.
It's more of an activity where you're just playing cards and seeing what will happen. And I guess to some extent, because it's so novel and because it is so unique, that is kind of true. You do kind of play cards, but I think it's one of those that you can the more you play it, the better you get at it, especially if you're playing with the same group. You can kind of get into sync, and that's really clever how you kind of start getting better and better at it as you play it more. But then once you've got quite good at it, what happens then? I've not played it enough to say. Is there a peak where you play it and then you think, oh, I'm bored of this, we solved it now, it's, we don't play it anymore, or do you just keep getting better and better, or I'm not sure. I've not quite got to that stage yet. I've only played it a few times, but I've enjoyed it when I have played it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Spiel Des Jahres, as a whole, looking back on it, they do pick quality games.
Yeah.
You can tell something's good if it's been nominated by Spiel Des Jahres.
Yeah.
It may not be to your taste, but, it's a good product.
Yeah, there's quite a few on there that you'd be happy to have in your collection, and you'd happy to pay sort of any time, really. Even the nominees, not even the winners, the nominees, and some of those they're all pretty good as well.
Ooh, actually, I may have lied earlier on. 2009 Pandemic was nominated. I thought it had never been nominated. It didn't win.
I think it was nominated.
It didn't win.
I think it was The Bridesmaid, not The Bride.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Dominion won that year, and okay, well, fair.
Yeah.
They are both really good games.
Campbell Up, that's a really good betting game for people who like sort of betting, and I've got a friend who likes betting on the football and stuff like that. The betting sites and things. And we played Camel Up, and he really loved it because he loves that kind of betting. Who's going to win on the camel race, things like that. That's a good one. I enjoyed that one.
But also, if you have a look at some of these, there's the original game that has won or was nominated in the case of Pandemic, and have got a whole slew of expansions and variants come off it. So you've got all the different Catan. Now it's no longer the Settlers of Catan, it's just the Catan series of games. You've got the Carcassonne and all of their versions. You've got up 10 different places and variants and tickets to ride. Pandemic, as we mentioned earlier, King Domino, Queen Domino, et al., the Azules. And so the Dixit variants, the add-ons for Dominion. It just shows you that it's not just a game, it's the concept, it's everything about it that's good, and good enough to actually go on and create more. It's not just a small single package necessarily.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
Looking back in history, I think some in the mid-2000s I've not actually played. The 2007 awards, how many of these have you played? There were 5 nominees: Isfahan, Arcadia, Jensteiz von Theben.
Bless you.
I don't know what the English version of that is. Something of Thebes. The Thief of Baghdad and Zularetto.
No, I've not played any of those.
No, I've not played any of those either. I played Zularetto, the dice game or something, I think. But
yeah, it's been going quite a while, hasn't it? It's been going for quite a few years. So
1979, the first winner. Anyone know?
No. Not without looking.
No.
Hare and Tortoise.
Oh, okay.
Which I do actually have. I've played that.
I might play that one. I'm going to look it up now. And so
very good for teaching you about triangular numbers.
Hare and Tortoise.
As was the fashion in the 1970s.
was it along with flares and
flares, orange, brown, triangular numbers. Yeah. Oh, but 1980 was the first big game, I suppose, Rummy Cub.
So I think any of those games, you're pretty good. You got a pretty good chance of picking up a good one if you want to play any of those.
If you can get an English version.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess some of the older ones or some of the more obscure ones are probably more difficult to get hold of.
I think some of the older ones are particularly limited English version release and things. And you are looking at more the mid to late 90s and into this millennium, really, when you were getting things from a wider pool, and so therefore more than just it's a German rules because it's made in Germany and things. So
yeah.
Looks like they gave a prize to the Rubik's Cube in 1980.
Oh, really? That's not a game. No, that's definitely not a game.
A solitaire game. But,
Right, okay.
They took a while they've sort of settled down on this format of having the Spiel Des Jahres, which is sort of a family weight thing, the Kennerspiel, which is a more complicated gamer's game, and the children's game. But back in over the last few decades, they've been sort of experimenting with different formats, having different numbers of nominees, giving different things.
Oh, okay.
So they've given they used to give like special prizes for a beautiful game or a solitaire game or whatever they wanted to give something to, which wasn't in their main prize. Historical game in 2001.
But also, I think that's why they've introduced the Kennerspiel or the connoisseur game for those that are, well, maybe not quite the family for sort of some younger aged people. Which, a couple of years ago, you've got Cracks of Quedlinburg, which won the Kennerspiel, but I've played with my 7-year-old, so I don't know how that one works.
I think it's good that they highlight more than one game, because it kind of gives you more of a choice. Then you can pick up either of these games and be pretty happy that they're both really solid games. I think I agree with Quacks of Quedlinburg. It's not, well, I guess some of the books you can throw in more of the books, and there's an expansion, isn't there, that adds more stuff as well, so it can.
Connoisseur's game of the year they've been doing since 2011, and here are the winners. The first one was Seven Wonders, Village, Legends of Andor, Istanbul, Broom Service, Isle of Skye, Exit, Quacks of Quedlinburg, and then Wingspan. And none of these are like really heavy games that you'd find at the club. So monopolises a room next door and we've like put 3 tables together and gets out an acrony or something. It's they're all they're sort of above what you'd get out like with the family game night. Get your gran and your 7-year-old nephew to all get round the table and play something. It's probably a bit much for that, but they're definitely
but they're not going to be a complete brain chewer either, are they? So
Okay, well, thank you to everybody for listening to us, and thanks for joining me today. So we've been joined by Tom Coldron. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
And Tom Lovewell as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
If you want to check out any of the games that we mentioned, we'll put links in the descriptions in the show notes, so you can have a look at those. If you want to find us on Facebook, we are Sheffield Board Gamers. The forum is www.sheffieldboardgamers.com. You can find us on Twitter. We're on YouTube, so look us up there. We're on Instagram. Do you want to mention your details, Tom?
I don't really have any details. Oh, okay. Tom.
I was talking to the other Tom.
Well, you could just find me online, Redwell Games, so search for everything there as well. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now. Bye.